Hey yo, what up? What up? It's me, yo. Masked out, sassed out, getting gassed out. What up, bro? And me, yeah, boy. But that's the fun here on the Mox and Docs. Nominal unity gain on the bish. Yeah, what up, bish? Yeah, we saying the B word on PARACONOMY INC today, motherfucker. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'll put on airs. I'll put on airs. I'll put my city guy vibe on. Y'all be like, oh, bro, that's you brown, bro. I mean, like, yeah, I'm brown. I get it. I'm being brown, and people fucking like me like that. So like, I do that, but also, like, I'm just like, it's just me. It's just little old me. So, bro, gotta get on, yo, bro, morning, bro. How fast you gonna go? It's 8:18, 3:10, 2025, bro. All right, we finna roll them all out, roll them back up, fucking get this fucking blunt sparked for the day. God damn. Let's fucking tap in on this shit. We got some good juju. We got some knocking on wood, bit. We're knocking on that motherfucker. All right, so we get you guys a brown kid. Oh shit, you found Honolulu, brown man, boy. What's up, dooba? All right. Badoobada. We got badoobada over here, dude. Where's my where my cap? Where my grills, dude? Where my cap at? I gotta be salsa up, dude. I gotta. Hey everybody, it's me. Yeah. So like, all right, we had our hustle dustle, roll a turbin, roll a bourbon, gerber. We got, we got funny guy on the mic right here. We ain't been like round. We ain't been around. It's a brown in a while. But all right. So like, yeah, I grew up in Chicago for like 7 years of my like adulthood, and it kind of carved out a big chunk of like all of this other urban stuff going on, urban patois, Fatima. Um, and it got me on the gifted gab because I started doing a lot of hip hop, beat making. I was really inspired by a lot of Detroit and Chicago, like lounge music, like this, the trip hop, hip hop instrumentals and stuff like that. And that led to my like self discovery through a lot of analog DJing and vinyl and stuff. Still collect vinyls to this day. Just kind of like giving you the odds and ends of like some of the things that'll be going on here at this company. We got a whole smorgasbord of experiences and lots of good like weed and lots of really good music and lots of really cool guys and girls. So like I was already on some good shit between Chicago and like Detroit. My thing is just I haven't been able to make it all the way back. Excuse me. I have been all the way there, and then like midway back, I get held up by life, and life's like, let me check your privilege really quick before we let you in. And then like that got me involved at all once I came out here to Lansing and I got a little more acquainted. I was selling mushrooms with my buddy Jay Money, and like we were bouncing out like lots of good shit, and people were buying it, and I was able to keep my apartment, and we was floating it. We was we was floating that shit back at 303, and I like fucking bombing out here now. It's fucking tricky. This shit's fucking tricky as fuck, and I really was just here for the growth and like becoming a mushroom grower because in Chicago, it was before weed was legalized and decriminalized, and so like there was good money going out from Michigan all the time out to Chicago, and I missed having it because my buddies could flip things up a little bit, and like that was like over 10 years ago. So like it's been a while since I've been in any of it, and now I get to kind of study it with paraconomy right here, and we see if we could talk to aliens and use them as antennae and different things like that. So now we're like past that point in the journey a little bit, and like some of the psychedelics that I've been exposed to, or whatever it is that I've been able to like glob onto out here in Michigan, so I could help get the ball rolling on some of this legislation. And as we see, they've legalized mushrooms and prostitution in Wayne County. So I'm just so happen to be a pretty primo example of like somebody in Michigan that's currently camming on Chatterbait, OnlyFans, and many vids is Divine Jade. And I need to make money, so I'm also I'm growing and studying the mushroom boom, because I know it's a big movement here in Michigan, and I'm being pressed currently about other things throughout the side. It's increased the balance of the bar, and inflated this part and deflated this part, and like having all this stuff come out on my name, and like murders on my birthday, and all this weird stalking kind of looks a little different once you put all I'm doing is trying to be a medicine person, and like kind of add from my native like colloquialism in Hawaii, bring it back here as a native, and like make sure that like everything is like getting placed correctly on my legacy, on my family like business and bloodline, because Lord knows there's some killer bombers out there. So like that's kind of a big point. I'm really into Terrence McKenna, and he studies like the stoned ape theories and how we evolve, and if Michigan's getting to this point where I got pushed out of the weed boom, where I could have just been growing my own weed and like kind of networking in Michigan back when it was like cool, over like 12 years ago, when Flint's water was like on the blast for all of this other stuff that I was like cut away from, because I was trying to be living it big out in Chicago. And so like when I was like rolling with this type of swagger, it took a lot away from my family. Okay, my family's homogeneously white farm town, except for my father and my sister and I. And we're like some of the only minorities out in Lapeer. So it's kind of an interesting concept if I'm growing mushrooms, and like I'm a part of one of the biggest checkpoints in like the Midwest, between Chicago and Kalamazoo, and like everybody's making bank off of like selling scripts and coke and stuff like that, whereas like I don't do that type of stuff. And so like I kind of don't always understand why the laws end up getting tussled and tossed up onto people like me with some weird sort of legacy, right? I've got a very strange like kind of pedigree with my Hawaiian lineage, and then some of my like hometown stuff going on my mom's side. So like deep south in Arkansas, my grandfather was a bootlegger in Arkansas. He sold tires actually out of his trunk, but some of his grandparents and uncles and stuff, they were around during some of the Prohibition era of bootlegging. So that's a huge step towards me unboxing some of this legislation on studying some things here, because if this is what leads to some paranormal types of ecology, and we're just ignoring it because it's illegal, and other people are making bank on it currently here in this state, but it just keeps like going like kind of around me, then it doesn't make any sense that I never take this project on, to be like, hey, look, it is what it is. These are some cubes. I got some really solid cubenzis coming up, and they're looking real solid. Like bright reddy orange and like white mycelium. The stems are looking real clean. These are the really nice ones that I haven't been like able to study in a few years since I moved here. I tried it. I got caught by like the landlord and city inspections, and they sent in the DEA, and they came in and like they were snooping around, but they ended up just taking it and leaving. So I lucked out that time. But if like, you know, if this case on the violent offenders goes awry, and then there's like a ton of weird gossip surrounding it, it kind of adds into the like expectations of things for criminality here at Paraconomy. Because if I've been running people's baggage and dirty laundry as crime syndication while people are getting high off scripts, cocaine, and having sex, and then there's like this like whole open like air pimp ring going on with some of the trans people and the LGBTs being exploited as a like kind of bar back for like prostitution out here, spearheaded by me. But before it became prostitution, it was just camming online. And I was trying to get a couple of trans girls to start trending so they could get money for themselves, because I was raking in like 2K on Chatterbait. And then like that became, because I was doing so well, I stopped growing mushrooms basically, and like I was able to do that. And like, so like one up on the competition here and making sure like I'm making hay and qualifying for justice here, and that it gets looking at how much oversight there is on any of it at all, and to meet people at their like baselines and their level headedness at their like core chakras and stuff like that, where people are actually kind of breathing in and out an exchange of information and trust. So that's like another thing that is like I've learned about the hood, is like if you're gonna hustle, you gotta trust. And like that's sort of like the trickiest part, is like I've lost a lot of friends being in and out trying to impress people for music, because at the end of the day all I wanted to do was make music. So like it's been a really tricky one to have to try to like co-opt like something I'm uncomfortable with, hustling, like drugs, crime, all of it. I've got a very unique story about how I ended up into the psychedelic realm, and why I basically mainline weed 24/7. I like don't even do any of the other stuff anymore. I used to be addicted to like synthetics like K2 and Spice and stuff like that, and I was experimenting with a couple of other legal highs and stuff at the time, and they were getting me all caught up on like my first abusive relationship, my first live-in relationship with Kate Vogel, where things ended up getting really bumpy, and a couple of my roommates unfortunately got some like front row seats at the freaking sideline to our drama playing out when I was around like between 20 to 21. I started like, we'd go to hookah bars and stuff like that, and that part would get a little bit rowdy later. After we like leave, we go get drunk, and then weirdly, I think me and my girlfriend Kate would get jealous of each other because of a lot of like starved welfare and generational welfare going on, that our parents weren't just meeting our baseline needs like other kids were getting. And so like we end up kind of like cutting away in a really big way from the like popular kid groups, and we start going to concerts and stuff like that. And like at some point we changed direction, and like the synthetic weeds like too much. So I came back home to Michigan one November, and I got dreadlocks, and I switched to marijuana and medical cannabis, and it got me off of the synthetic smokes and bath salts and like other things that were kind of not the healthiest at the time. But I was in art school. Yeah, I was trying to fit in. And I that's later on I was like kind of, we tried out mushrooms and stuff like that, but like it freaked me the hell out. I had a spiritual psychosis, and that was my first experience with psychedelics, with mushrooms. So I know they're dangerous. I know that and that's why I kind of like, I'm here as a spirit guide, as a trip sitter, as a people person, and why I rehabilitated Candela Sweet and Kat Kashik off of some of their prescription meds for a second, because they were not in the greatest of shape health wise, let alone like spiritually or like mentally, or their fortitude, because they were living out of suitcases. So I figured like, hey, what better way to help them than to like get them off their meds? But it didn't work. I didn't have the mushrooms. I didn't really have any psychedelics. We had a trip on New Year's to do like a little bit of acid, and like that might have helped Kat and Cassie, but also they're like nowhere. There's so many loose ends after we make that like establishment of trust, that it just like kind of just crumbles, and it just like deteriorates. And they like both cut and run, and Kat like took the party over to like Kendra's basically with Sam. So like that's like kind of a huge part, as to me, is looking like a lost puppy all like this year, trying to really patch together the seam of the whole thing, because like it's just one quilted kind of like experience from me attempting to like maintain a whole amount of surface area. I've had to like do a lot of pointillism and get this thing kind of stitched all together, because my rights are currently being looked at all slant ways, because I'm a good example for trans culture, and they're all real jealous that I'm like good. I'm somewhat good looking. I'm not like the greatest, but like, yo, I don't look bad, and I hold myself appropriately, and I kind of make bank on like the adult sites and stuff like that. So like it's kind of like, yeah, a lot of this is kind of trivial. These people have been eavesdropping on me for like the past 5 years, and I've lost half the 2020s to these fucking selfish little kitty brats. So like that's kind of one big reason why I'm big dicking them here. Excuse my language, I know. But that's one big reason why I'm just sitting here. I'm low key sitting here because I'm waiting for something to hit. Okay, I'm either waiting for my mushrooms to finish growing, or my parents to like finagle the situation, one of them to like pay up and come like, here's some money, leave us alone, we tried to kill you and your friends, and we backwalled your internet, don't hurt us, right? Yeah, so like, and they're, yeah. So this is like the glamour PC culture. This is like kind of the old school Apple culture. Back when I went off to Chicago, of the Dems picking a lot of iPhone products, and Steve Jobs and stuff like that was still booming. He had just passed. So like that's all of those guys, and Candela Sweet kind of spearheaded the abuse part towards the psych ward, which she now frequents, and has been Narcaned since. So it didn't work that well, and she's kind of taken the wrong lefts. So like it's been playing out that way, and she keeps lying to all the other ops. They all keep lying to each other because it feels good to put somebody pop who is like becoming popular in an honest way, um, and pull them down to their level of like, you don't know what it's really like, you have it too good, you must never been scraping by living out of your suitcase or nothing. Why don't you go out and go sell yourself for real? So they're trying to be bullies like that in that real gruff way. So like it's definitely becoming very very strange and a little unsanitary, and there's just no cognizance. There's just like a bunch of patrolling, and like there could be a lot less basically. And it just seems like at this point, if I don't come clean about what it is that I'm like out here doing, I'm gonna get caught up with people in the wrong way, when it's clearly there's thriving businesses off of this legislation out in Wayne County. And why we can't look at federally like establishing this, especially here in Lansing, the Michigan state capital. It makes sense that there's a little bit of representation on at least how to be able to like hang tight and on the bar, because that part's really important for people to just be able to forward motion their their sanity pleas and things like that. And if there's divine killing, right? If there's like divinity, and there's like a manifest destiny for your clan or your clan destiny, some sort of like calling to action that causes you to commit crimes, but you could like commit less if you just took mushrooms. Then we need to look at a little bit of like what mushrooms do, and how they can like kind of give you better clarity, even enhance and heighten your senses and your clairvoyancy and like telepathy and telekinesis and astral projection and all that good stuff. So it seems like if you didn't already know that it's happening here in Michigan, that you must be fighting for one of the sides, basically, that you've already picked a side. They have a real flaky way of like giving you an absolute in place of a could be, here in Michigan, to quickly solve idiot problems. And it's not sophisticated like I've seen out in Chicago. There's a lot of hoity-toity, sophisticated, bougie left-wingers, and whatever is happening that swayed them back there made them into like Trumpsters. And so now, instead of a bunch of cool, thrifty, hippie trendies, they're all like Trumpies and Trumpsters and stuff like that. They're right wing hipsters, and it's a little culture shocking to me. I suppose, because like it's not what I was promised. First off, there's no space for me out here because my mom's very right wing. My mom's family, and even the family my dad, the Melishes, from the Castillos. My dad was born into basically the Melish family when he was like five or six. So like he was really young, and when he traveled from Hawaii all the way to Michigan, and things were a lot different in like the 60s and 70s. So that's like a big that was a big that's a huge part of like my identity too, is like my father came from Hawaii, and he was born right after Hawaii was like instated as one of the 50 states. So he was born as a red-blooded American out there. And my grandma is from Hawaii before it was a state, and she was like raised on a pineapple plantation in a nunnery. So like that's yeah, and her name's like Marie Antoinette. Super classic colonizer culture. And because like that's one big reason why she was selected to flip America, is because she'd been a desirable sugarcane slave. So like that's a huge part of why it's weird when I get like pressed for my like patronage and my homage to like my Hawaiian roots and my trans culture stuff that I've been peeling back in as shamanism, and then the medicinal parts to my anything that I have connected from there as a native. So like I'm a native born off reservation basically here in Michigan, but like generationally speaking, I'm at par with a lot of representation. So if I'm not like taking that here and like kind of making a stink and being like, hey, no, this is not what you think it is. Line in the sand. This was always meant to be something for like me and Daryl. So like that's one big reason why it's like it's very strange that like all of the sudden because this charge goes all slant ways that my me and my father's relationship gets strained. So thanks to like this really cringy crime syndication on creating a loophole or fleecing and exploiting somebody is very blatantly just kind of just take the intelligence and the IQ down just a smidge to be able to lace this thing out, and you start to see how simple people's like expectations were met and then dashed like within an instant. So like that's kind of something I can't I you make up your mind about me as we go, because like I don't think we're on the same page here, and especially maturity wise. If you're not willing to stand here and be like, look, what I'm capable of doing and what I'm showcasing can also be two different things here, because you don't need to know every last detail about my history. And like, yeah, I'm here blasting off on YouTube about how the hell I got into this situation, because if it ever comes up, people are gonna like want to know how you got that far interested. But it's like it's it's not like I haven't told the world and showed them a huge part of like what it is that I've been able to share with my versions of things, and nobody listens to me. Nobody listens. So like that's kind of a huge part as to why like people listen and then they use it against me over just like letting it be. There's a lot of OCD in Michigan and control issues, especially with these turfs. I'm like surrounded, not as a non-binary person. I'm surrounded by turfs, and they hate it when I go to camp because I like fuck myself with a dildo. Excuse my language, but like I sit on a dildo or a fuck machine, and they cannot handle it. I make pretty good money doing it, but like they want me to be a fixed man, but they're not willing to do any work. So that's Michaela Gonzalez, Grace Draminsky, their friend Naja, Candela Sweet, Kat Koshik, and Sam Cockburn, and Jessica. Yeah, Jessica Miller is like a huge mistake in my like networking here, because Jessica was supposed to help me float upwards, and she ended up just like burying me and like kind of like stealing me away. So it's an unfortunate part because I only met these people after I started camming, and like I had just finished a really weird relationship with my ex-boyfriend Jesse, who was like my first boyfriend. I took him home to like meet my parents and stuff as a woman, and he was really just help it. He was a Chatterbait fan who was supposed to help me out with my getting my meds and stuff like that. So like I started putting in expectations, sure, absolutely. But at the same time, he was like really into me, and he just he I'm a pushover, I guess. I have a hard time saying no, but also I couldn't afford to live here basically at these apartments when I was over there, because the mushrooms had gone like they kind of went down on like just like being able to produce them in mass and stuff like that, and production means. So, and this was before it was Paraconomy Inc. And now it's, at least I've got a business model for the things that can go. It's now an S corp. It's a real deal like thing that I can kind of figure out as we go. And it was like, it looks a lot different to people, and I think once people start getting like the hang of life in these ways, they can meet me at like professional levels, because there are people out here who will meet me at my level. But it seems like there's this other side where there's people who genuinely want you to like suffer, and that's some of these people, these turfs. Yeah, they're turfy out here. So if you're like transitioning, be careful. They're trying to piggyback LGBT culture on like prostitution and stuff in maybe not the healthiest ways every time. And like, yeah, if we get a little bit of it set up, because like I have the Brazilian and the Thailand like trans ladyboys and stuff like that, were a huge influence. And as my grandma passed away, after moving out here, I like kind of started transitioning for grandma, and like it was working really well. I was gonna give it like 4 years. It's been like almost a decade. 2017 is when I started, and now it's like 2025. So like I'm here. I'm about like 8-9 years into my transition, but Michaela and Grace and all these turfs had me detransition for like the past like 3 or 4 years, and they've been doing it in the meanest way. They've been doing it real rough, and they're doing it through the ESP and all of this crystal stones here. They're using the crystal stones to like communicate with like demons and shit, and they're having them stalk me. So like they're trying to get me to be homeless too, on the side of like all of this. But I own a paranormal investigation company now. So like that's a big part of like why it's going on at all, is because we need to study this stuff. If especially it caused me to like see shapes and lines on my face that looked more Islander than they than Polynesian than they did Polish and Irish. So if that's like getting, if that's getting aliens to basically contact and communicate with me regularly, after I went through all of that, and I can start believing in aliens, then I'm gonna start looking at believing in aliens and seeing if this stuff is actually as connected as we're acknowledging it, and if the people around it can also like experience that with a safer type of day ahead, instead of like leaving it all to chance and getting hurt or worse, and you're traumatized and stuff like that. And just thought I'd share a little bit of that myself today, because like feel like it might help here a little bit, and kind of dull some of the pain here. I'm gonna go ahead and deuces here in a second. It looks like I flew the kook here on time, but hey, yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm gonna keep on mustarding here in and out of reality here and get my job going, because I need some. If you guys have any freaking paranormal experiences, please bring them to Paraconomy Inc. and continue to help litigate confusing topics with yourself and with source energy or God or goddess or angels or aliens or demons or ghosts or rocks.